Welcome back, you guys. Here we go. Let me show you something. Just thrifted that yesterday. All right, here we go. So, welcome to all the new subs. Welcome. You guys are in the right place. All right. So, I've done a lot of dope at work. Plain and simple. I was a really good employee, but a really bad one at the same time. I was phenomenal at my actual job. I knew my job. I used to work at hotels, right? Started off as a front desk agent, finished off as a front desk supervisor for a hotel. Did that for many years. But as time went on, I picked up an addiction to opiates. I didn't start that addiction till around the time my parents got a divorce. I was 25 at the time. That hit me hard, thinking about it. Now I am just really surprised it hit me hard. I'm an only child. So that definitely had something to do with it. It hits everybody different, but for me, it really hit me. And I'm surprised it hit me as bad as it did when I was 25. So anyway, I wasn't the same at work. One of the employees there noticed that when you're at the front desk, you have to put on a little presentation, a little show for your guest, make them feel welcomed, and make sure all the guests in the hotel have everything they need. Being the supervisor, I have to make sure that's happening. I also have to oversee the whole operation at the front desk, right? And then I report to the manager above, assistant general manager or general manager, right? So I get offered by the employee, one of my co-workers, a Vicodin. I take it, 5 milligram Vicodin Watson pill. That changed my life. That changed my whole mood. That changed my whole demeanor. That changed my whole presentation. That set me off on a path of destruction. Not only to me in my life, but for my loved ones around me. So, up until 2018, I had that addiction. All right. 2005 to 2018. On and off a little bit, but more on than off. I say on and off because there were times in detox, in rehab, in prison, wasn't there for a year. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, right? But I was reading an article online, and it was talking about when should you tell your boss, when should you tell your manager that you're going to rehab. Say, for example, you're an alcoholic. Say, for example, you're an addict, right? I know how that is all too well. I know how it is when you have to go to work and you don't want to and you just about can't because you are dope sick or in withdrawal from alcohol. I was never in withdrawal from alcohol, but alcohol was a huge problem for me because every time I took a drink, I couldn't stop drinking. I'm sure I could have, but I didn't have it in me to stop. I just liked it so much. I liked the taste of freaking beer, and I liked the feeling, the way it made me feel. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I love getting hammered. I love getting hammered. I'm not gonna front. I love getting hammered. It kind of gets me out of my zone, right? It gets me out of my head. So, with that being said, man, there were various times, mainly towards the end of my use, when I was working for a certain manager. I was being enabled, looking back at it, a lot. But this isn't about that, right? I took advantage of a situation where I could get fronted money and I would have to pay it back on payday, which I did. So therefore, come payday, I'd already be in debt to the manager. I'd already be in debt to my plug at the time, my dealer, right? So I barely had any money for myself. And all the money I got went straight to dope. Straight to dope, man. So there'd be times where either the day before or the day of having to go to work, I would call in. And I would call in because I'd be tapped out of cash. I'd have no money to even pick up before I go to work to get some more opiates, get some more H or pills, anything I could get my hands on just to take the dope sickness away, right? So there'd be times I'd call him and say, hey man, I need to go to detox. It was never a planned thing for me. It was always spur of the moment because I would go day by day with my addiction, right? Hopefully scramble enough money and go to my dealer's house before I go to work. That was my day right there. I was working full time and I needed my drugs to function, just to be a functional human being, just to be able to do anything, just to be able to eat, just to be able to take a shower. I didn't want to do any of that, and I couldn't eat unless I was high. If I smelt food while I was dope sick, or even if I tried to eat, I would just get nauseous and gag, and it was just a whole mess, man. Symptoms of withdrawal, especially from opiates. That's the only thing I ever withdrew from, but it's one of the most terrible things I ever experienced. So, when should you tell your boss that you're going to rehab? If you're an addict, if you're an alcoholic, I recommend, if it's causing you, if your addiction or alcoholism is causing you trouble in your life, and you know you need to go to rehab and you want to go to rehab, if that's the only way you could get clean or sober, do as much preparation as possible. This isn't medical advice. This is just from my experience. If I had to do it all over again, of course I wouldn't do drugs or drink, but if I was faced with that position to where I needed to go, I would do my best to prepare ahead of time. Let him know. Maybe I had some vacation time, any of those type things, right? Any of those benefits, vacation time. I believe it's a medical reason if you need to go to rehab. Not 100% sure, but I think if you're addicted, or if you're addicted to alcohol and you need to take medical leave, I believe they classify addiction as medical leave. So ultimately, the boss, the manager, I don't think he or she, I don't think they have to know about it at all. You know, at the end of the day, you could just say, I need some time off for medical reasons. Depending on the manager, depending on the situation, you might have to provide some documentation for that, like whatever paperwork you get from the hospital or wherever you go. You might need, I'm guessing, right? I'm just guessing. You might need to provide some paperwork for that. I never been faced with that situation, but from what I read on the article, that's I guess that's an option too, right? So ultimately, man, prepare. Just prepare. Do a lot of back end work, you know, before that time comes. Do as much as you can plan it. I know some people can't take the time off from work because they need to work to pay bills, to support their family, and to support their habit, right? I get it. But there's gonna come a time where your alcoholism, where your addiction is just gonna keep getting worse. It's never gonna get easier. I mean, I've tried to do cold turkey. I've tried to wean myself off, but that didn't work for me. So as long as you're using, man, it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse, man. The only advice I could give, and that I feel comfortable giving, is do your research on your state. See what they classify time off for medical reasons is. If it gets to that point, if that's something you have to use to get the time off, Or if you have vacation time, add those numbers up and see what you could do. If money's an issue, see if you could get state-funded treatment, right? For my situation, the longer the better. The longer the better. Message in this video, prepare. Do a lot of back-end work to make your future easier. Thanks for listening.